Okay, it is now 6:30, so we're going to get started here. And at least one more person in the waiting room, it looks like. So we'll just continue to let folks in. I'm wondering if some of you might be willing to unmute and just let us know where you are in the state of Indiana. It would be fun to hear where you're located. Just shout out to us.
I'm in Grant County.
Yeah,
Great.
me too.
Nice. Okay. Others, where are you guys?
Zionsville.
Zionsville. All right. Where else?
Indianapolis.
Also Zionsville.
Indianapolis, Zionsville. Where else, guys? Anybody in northern Indiana?
I'm in Marshall County.
You're pretty far up there. Ashton and I are in.
We're from Fort Wayne.
Fort Wayne, great. Fantastic.
Bloomington.
Bloomington, nice. Okay. Very good. Well, I would like to welcome all of you. We may still have some folks join us. Looks like we've got a good turnout this evening. So thank you so much for taking time out and being with us. Ashton and I are really happy to have both of you here. Okay, more people coming in. And I'm curious to know, for those of you who'd like to, again, continue to shout out, what is it that you already know about the IU Honors Program? Who'd like to venture an answer here? Be brave.
Well, I'm a teacher and I know that it makes a huge difference for the kids when they come back, and it just transforms their abilities with language. And I've seen so many kids come back so excited and energized, and it's just such a great opportunity.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Yeah, we've been working together for a while now, haven't we? We get some really great students from your school.
Hi, I'm Claire and I'm from Indianapolis, and I heard of this program from a couple of my friends and like my sister's friends, and I was really interested and I heard a lot of good things about it, and I've been in like the Spanish track my entire life, and I think that this could like help me improve my Spanish and give me an experience that like will truly like help me develop my Spanish language.
Oh, thank you, Claire. Wonderful answer. Appreciate it. It's very nice meeting you. Okay, anyone else want to chime in on what they already know or why they're interested in the IU Honors Program?
Personally, I'm really interested just because I've wanted to grow my Spanish, and I really like the language, and this seems like the perfect opportunity because I'm planning on continuing my study of Spanish in college.
Great. Okay, fantastic. So speaking of languages, I'm curious to know, we can use the chat for this purpose. If you'd like to tell us what your language is, if you could, if some of you feel like sharing that, just go ahead and type it into chat for us. It'd be interesting to see that. Okay, French, German, French with exclamation points, Spanish. Okay, wonderful. So we've got all three of this year's languages well represented. So that makes me really happy. Okay, great. Very good. All righty. So let me go ahead here. There we go. All right. So just a quick overview. Now, can you folks see the entire slide? Are you able to see the whole slide, or is it yes? Okay, good. Yep. My view, I've got your little faces and my little face covering part of it. So I just want to make sure you guys can see the whole screen here. So what do? We are a study abroad program, an immersion program for Indiana high school students, and only for students in the state of Indiana. We're not open to students in other states. Our languages for this coming summer, this past summer, and this coming summer are French, German, and Spanish. We also have programming in Chinese and Japanese, but sadly, we will not be relaunching those programs until 2024. Students can apply when they are sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And you participate, after after you've completed those years, which means, of course, that we do have students participating after they've already graduated from high school. Our programs are 5 and 6 weeks long, and we're going to go through. I'm going to show you a little bit about the countries where we currently have programming, and talk to you a little bit more about what makes our program unique. First, I'd like for you folks to know that we started here on the IU Bloomington campus in 1962. So this past summer was our 60th birthday, if you can believe that. And we have been doing this for a very long time. And we believe that we have a model that really works and produces results. As Gabrielle was mentioning, students really get a transformative experience. They come back very strong in their languages. We see this year after year. In our history, more than 8,500 Indiana high school students have gone on our programs. This is currently our building on the IU Bloomington campus. I'm sitting inside this building right now. We are getting ready to move over to a brand new international center, a building here on campus, and we'll be moving in December or January, but this is where we are right now. And one thing I wanted to share with you folks is we know from students who go through our programs and then come to Indiana University, and that could be any IU campus, not just Bloomington, but we know that our alums are more likely than the average IU student to study multiple languages during their time at IU. They're more likely to do a longer study abroad period. They're more likely to go abroad than the average IU student, to study abroad for a longer period of time. They're more likely to do multiple study abroad experiences during their time at IU. And the reason for all of this is because once you had an experience like this in high school, the idea of going to college, is not intimidating. It doesn't overwhelm you, and you're eager to go abroad again. It just kind of opens up the door, and our students often express just a very strong desire to get back out in the world again. Ashton, I'd be interested if you would mind sharing with us a little bit about your time at IU as an alum. Ashton works in our office. If you just kind of introduce yourself a little bit and tell them about your IUHPFL experience and what your plans are to go abroad again.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I thought I didn't unmute myself for a second. I'm Ashton. I went to Hangzhou, China, the summer of 2017. If you hear clacking in the background, I'm sorry. That's my cat. Has his moment.
She is a great kid.
Yeah, I'm in the Kelley School of Business. I'm studying marketing and digital and social media business applications. I was in the Chinese flagship program, which is an intensive Chinese program, kind of an extension of IU's Chinese program. As for plans to go abroad again, since I do speak Chinese, my plans are kind of up in the air given, COVID and government restrictions and all that, but I am going to visit one of my best friends in Barcelona over spring break because she's studying abroad there next semester. So that's what I've got. Maybe I'll pick up some Spanish.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, very good. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky to go to China right now for sure. So we're just a couple blocks away from this lovely modern building on the IU Bloomington campus. I don't know how many of you might have had a chance to come and tour the Bloomington campus yet. If you're interested in possibly going to IU, of course, there are a lot of wonderful universities and colleges out there. But I do want to, put in a little bit of a plug here and just say, if you're really passionate about international programs and world languages, Indiana University has a lot to offer. And this building, this structure here is really just one of the many testaments as to how much IU supports international programming and world language study. So international experience, I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but when I'm traveling around the state of Indiana this time of year, oftentimes I'm going into high school settings and speaking with students who really might not have ever considered the idea of going abroad, and certainly, not having a study abroad experience in high school. I can tell you that, whenever, however old we are, whatever our age, whenever we have an international experience, of course, it's incredibly enriching. But what is so amazing about doing something like this when you're in high school is that the support that is there for you is incredible, and you'll really not have that level of support again. So the IU Honors Program allows you to have this incredible immersion experience, to really be engaged in the culture, to live with a host family, to have a home away from home. This is just incredible experience. And at the same time, you're doing it with other students from the state of Indiana. You have an instructor team there to support you. You have, your host family. You just have this incredible network of support. And it really is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Many of us, I myself had a study abroad experience in college. I loved it. I spent a year in Spain. Absolutely loved it. It was very different though, because if I got sick, I had to take care of myself. If I didn't understand something, I had to figure it out. By that point, you're an adult, so you're really on your own. Doing an experience like this as a high school student is just absolutely amazing, because you do gain a lot of independence, you gain a lot of skill, you gain so much. But at the same time, you are completely supported. We know, of course, that international experience also just opens doors for you. This is just the first step. And again, I hear from our alums saying things like they didn't realize how much they enjoyed travel, international travel. They didn't realize how much their language meant to them until they had this experience. And now again, they can't wait to get back out there in the world and to further their study of this current language and other languages as well. Some of you are probably already proficient in more than one language. And if you do speak more than one language already, let me say congratulations. And I hope you're really proud of that, because I can tell you I've been, working on my Spanish since I was 13 years old. And it's still, it's always a work in progress. Of course, my English needs a lot of work as well. So, but language proficiency is something that takes a great deal of work to accomplish. And the younger you are, when you're really working on your language and you have that immersion experience, the better, because you're going to lock in those skills. You're going to lock in your comprehension of the language. You're going to lock in your speaking skills. And then when you come back from an experience like this, you're just able to build on that. This gives you an incredibly strong foundation in the language that you can continue to build as you go. I like to say that, we all know what it's like to travel as a tourist, and traveling as a tourist is really wonderful and fun. Learning a language takes it to a new level. Now you have a door into that culture. You can actually step into the culture, you can interact, you can make friends, you understand the music and the literature and the movies and the TV shows. You walk right in to that culture when you know the language. And so that's the key. There's nothing like actually being able to speak the language. So these are the program sites that we're going to have this next summer. And this is, where we were this past summer as well. We were in Austria, France, and Spain. And I'll just go through and show you some, just some quick pictures of these parts of the world. And share some photos with you from this summer as well. Our German program is located in Graz, Austria. We've actually been in Austria since 2015. That's when we launched this program. Prior to that, our German program was in Krefeld, Germany for 50 years. So we were in Germany for a very long time. And someday, if we have lots and lots of German students, love to have a program once again in Germany. For right now, I can tell you we're extremely happy in Graz. It's just an incredibly beautiful part of the world. There's a lot of rich history. The city itself is about 250,000 people, very walkable, pleasant, tranquil, lovely pastries and shops, and it's it's a beautiful city, very livable, and about an hour and a half to 2 hours by bus from Vienna. So the students do spend time in Vienna on this program. They also go to a little town not far from Graz called Klagenfurt. They go to a chocolate factory. They see a lot of castles and history and so forth. So I really, cannot say enough about this part of the world. We have been in France since the very beginning. In fact, Saint-Brieuc, France, which is located right here. If you can see that, my little hand here, my little cursor. Saint-Brieuc is our only remaining original program site. So we started there in 1962, and we are now into our third generation of host families at that particular host city. So whereas grandma and grandpa used to host our students, then it was mom and dad. Now it's, the children who are grown and hosting our students. So just a very deep history there in that particular city. All three of these locations are wonderful. They are different from one another, but they all have their unique personality and charm. And if I had to pick a favorite, I would not be able to do it. And then finally, last but not least, Spain. So we have 3 program sites in Spain as well. For those of you who've had a chance to travel to Spain, you know that the topography and the climate from north to south, extremely different. It's like you're in a totally different country. It's hard to believe the variation, in a relatively small country like Spain. So this photo here, this is the northern part of the country. It's mountainous, it's green, it's cool, it's misty, sometimes a little rainy in the summertime. This photo here in the upper right is from, it's called El Campo de la Criptana, which is not too far from Ciudad Real, Spain. So you can see much different climate, incredibly beautiful as well, but just, warmer and a little drier with, lots of olive trees and so forth everywhere. It's just, no matter where you go, it's very beautiful. So I'm going to be sharing with you this photo here. I'm going to be sharing with you some contest winners. We have a photo and video contest every year, and for students who wish to participate, they can take pictures and videos during the program and then submit those after the program. And we bring together, some of our people here in the office, and we select the winners. So I'm sharing with you winners from our photo contest this year. I tell students and parents, look, we are not the only high school study abroad program out there. There are other options. So I encourage you to do your research because this is a very unique program and it's a good fit for a lot of students, but it's not necessarily the best fit for everybody. I want to share with you the aspects of our program that make us really unique. So we're going to go through these components here that you see. One thing is our 8 core values. These words that you see in front of you are extremely important to us. They really embody who we are. We keep these words in front of the students in their target languages throughout the program. And a lot of the instructors also work to incorporate these values into different activities and so forth that they do. Diligence is a big one because this program requires a lot of a word that my mom likes to use, stick-to-itiveness, being able to wake up every day and today's a new day and I'm going to give it my all. That type of diligence, that type of perseverance, is a really good thing to have in a program like this. We're a lot about team building, which I'm going to share with you in a moment as well, but really encouraging each other through an experience like this. It is very challenging, of course. So we really encourage the students to support one another, help each other through the experience. You're not competing against other students in this program. You're competing against yourself. And I love to hear stories about students who, teach each other during the program. They support one another through the program. A young man a few years ago who was presenting with me said, as long as he became friends with everybody in his program, but he had 2 buddies in particular that he spent a lot of time with. And he said, as long as the 3 of them were together, they were invincible because one of them was really strong in vocabulary. Another one could pronounce the language really well. And the third one could conjugate verbs like nobody's business. So as long as they were together, they could talk to anybody. They were great. And they learned so much from one another. And those are the kinds of stories that I think are pretty common in our program. And I love to hear them. So and unity, we're wanting you to become such good friends with the people that you go through this program with. When you come back, you're going to have all of these friends across the state of Indiana that you've now shared this experience with. And we hope that those friendships will last, well into the future. I'm in touch with people who went through this program back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. And I hear all these great stories about how so many of them are still in touch, and they're still friends with people they went through the program with. And so there is that potential. And I really think it comes from these kinds of values, just bringing out the best in each other and bringing out the best of yourself during an experience like this. So whereas this is, of course, a very much an individual experience, everyone is going and they're developing in their language and developing in so many ways at your own pace. It's also very much a team experience as well. So the instructors are, doing wonderful activities together. You're learning a lot together. You're helping to keep holding one another accountable and help each other stick to your goals. What is it that you're trying to accomplish during a program like this, both personally and academically? The instructors encourage the students to set goals. Really, what are your goals, and hopefully measurable goals that you can track throughout the program, and you can really keep in mind how much progress you are making and how far you're coming. So team building is a big part of what we do. I will tell you that students are coming into this experience in very different levels in the language. The reason for that is, for one thing, we've gone through a pandemic, so instruction, of course, was interrupted, or it was very different for some students than it was for others during the pandemic. But also high schools, can be different as well. So the level of immersion or the level of exposure that a student might get in, Spanish 3, for example, in this high school might be very different from the exposure they get in Spanish 3 in another high school. And so we are very transparent about the fact that we know students are coming in at an advanced level or an intermediate level or an emerging level, what we call it emerging. Everyone has had a foundation in the language. Everyone has studied the language and they know the grammar, they know the basics, but in terms of their ability to understand the language or produce the language, it varies greatly. And so please, if you feel like your language level isn't where you want it to be, that's okay, because that's why we're here, right? We're here to help you get your language where you want it to be. If your language is at a really high level, in fact, we have heritage speakers who participate in our programs. If your language is at a really high level, well, that's wonderful. You're in a position to help others then. And regardless of where your proficiency level is, everyone has challenges during this program, no matter what. It is a very challenging experience, and everybody has their strengths and everyone has their gifts that they contribute to the team. And so I think that students are on more of an even playing ground, than they might realize, truly. So a little bit about our honor code. When we're talking about being an honors program, this not only refers to academics. Of course, we're wanting to see students who have strong overall academic performance. We want to see students who really are demonstrating excellence in their world language classes. But also for us, honors means that you are committing to an honor code. And this is a key aspect of what we do. So here what you're seeing are just some basic tenets of our honor code, and they're pretty common sense. I'm going to talk more about the language commitment in a moment here, but obviously, when we're saying no alcohol and so forth, that's just a common sense rule. No risky activities. This means we don't want you racing down the streets of Paris on a motorcycle. This summer, you can do that when you're in college, but during this program, we're wanting our students to play it safe. No dating. This means, you're not dating anybody in your host country during the program. We really are wanting students to focus on their own individual experience. You're there to develop in the language and make friends and really engage with what's around you. And the rule of 3 means that during your free time, at every program site, after your classes for the day, after your afternoon activities, your lunch and so forth, you have 2 to 3 hour window of free time where you can be out and about in town with your friends from the program. And during that time, you have to be in groups of 3 or more students. That's what the rule of 3 means. And of course, it's for your safety. We also have a curfew. Every site has its own curfew, and the hour of the curfew varies depending, where you are in the world, because we go along with cultural, things like dinner and so forth. But the curfew means that you have to be with at least one member of your host family at that hour. So it might be 6 p.m., it might be 6:30, it might be 7 and so forth. But that's when you have to be with your host family. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be home, but you have to be with a member of your host family at that point in time. Okay, so that's what curfew means for us. Language commitment. So I'm going to ask Ashton in a moment to kind of share her experience with the language commitment, because this is by far the most challenging aspect of the program. It is a very individual journey. Some students find that they're starting to catch on and they're starting to feel comfortable maybe the second week of the program. Others, it might be the 3rd week of the program. But generally, I tell students, make it through the first 2 weeks. If you can get through the first 2 weeks of the program, you're absolutely going to be blown away, because this little switch in your brain, will flip, I promise you, and you're going to start understanding. You're going to start being able to speak. And then by the end of the program, students are having conversations in their languages. And I hear stories again and again about students coming back into the United States, not being able to speak English very well. I've had parents email me saying, when is my child going to speak English to me again? After the program, So this is real. The language development is a real and true outcome of this program. How do we accomplish that, though? Well, this is the recipe. And one way that we do that is that students do not have their smart devices during the program. So you don't have your phone, you don't have a tablet, you don't have a smartwatch, you don't have anything that has internet capability. And the reason that we do that is not because we want to be mean to you, but the reason is because we really want you to be immersed and completely engaged with what's around you. And just imagine, your friends back home, kind of like freeze frame, just imagine that they're just kind of frozen for the summer. I promise they'll be there when you get home. But this time that you have, the 6 weeks that you have in another country, we just want you to be completely and totally engaged and immersed in what's around you. What we give you is what I like to call a dumb phone. These are these old phones, in some cases flip phones, that allow you to text and call locally. You have your phone numbers of your instructors, of your peers. You'll have the phone numbers of your host family and so forth. So you'll be in touch with everybody on site using your program cell phone. Okay. You also get an hour a week on the internet using your host family's computer. And during that 1 hour a week, you're typing in English or your target language. There's no phone calls during the program. There's no video chat during the program. You will not hear your parents' voices or see their faces during that entire 6 weeks unless there's an emergency, and we do not want that, right? So you're using the internet during that hour a week, and you can use any platform you want, email, Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform you want to use, and you're sending messages back and forth, typing in English or your target language. We have blogs for each program site. So parents, this is a real lifesaver, because the instructors are going to keep that blog up to date. They update it 2 or 3 times a week. They put all kinds of photos on there, videos and captions in English. So here at home, you can follow along with what your student is doing abroad. And it might be 2 or 3 days behind the fact, but you're going to be able to see what the group is doing. So the blogs are a real lifesaver. And of course, students, if you're planning on taking a lot of photos, you're going to want to have a digital camera. If you'd like to participate in the video contest, then you would want that digital camera to have video capability as well. So Ashton, can you share with us a little bit about your journey with the language commitment and what that was like for you?
Yeah, for sure. I went the summer after my sophomore year of high school. So going in, I didn't have a lot of like vocabulary depth, and my grammar was slightly on the rudimentary side. So at the beginning, it was more emotionally difficult for me because I felt kind of like closed off. I didn't exactly know how to express myself and things like that. But once I got going, it ended up being a really great time. And I have inside jokes with my friends who I went with, like in Chinese, that people just don't get because it's not in English. And then when I came home, I did have like the occasional word where I was like, oh man, like what's this in English? Like I tried to order at Subway and I forgot the word for tomato. And like that was only slightly embarrassing. You know, I just kind of pointed, I was like, that one. Just kind of
That red thing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the flip side of how I was when I first got to China. Because when I first got to China, I was like, bathroom, please, ? But yeah, it ended up being a really great experience in getting to know my host family and really deepening the connections with the people who I went to school with, because we were all kind of like, not suffering, but like we were all like going through this like hard experience together. And once I kind of stopped focusing on, oh, I feel really cut off from America and I feel really cut off from my family, whatever, like, and decided to make the best of, you know, the experience to learn and the experience to meet new people, it ended up being really great. And I'm very thankful.
Wonderful. Okay, great. So I'm curious to know what questions might you have for Ashton and me at this point? Are there any questions out there?
So, I'm really involved in my church at home. Is there anything like at the program? I'm specifically looking at Spain that I'd be able to follow up with that, or is that kind of something that I need to work on my own?
Yeah, if you're really interested in attending church, and it would likely be Mass, Spain is largely Catholic, that is very easy to do, and a lot of students express the same interest, and you know, you're likely to find other people in the program who would want to go with you. So what you would do in your application is just include that comment in there somewhere that this is something that's really important to you, and absolutely we can make that happen. Thank you for that question.
Well, thank you.
That's great. Any other questions at this point? How is, go ahead, Gabrielle.
Would it be the same for students that like to do a sport? Some sports I know, like lacrosse. I mean, I don't know if that's very prominent in Spain, or would there be a way for, I guess kids could just join like a running group to stay in shape?
Right, exactly. We have a lot of students who are athletes. We have a lot of students who are musicians. So we do get this question a lot. It is absolutely possible to, you know, stay fit. We have students who run, who are in track. We've got students, you know, who play soccer and so forth. So anything that you need to do, if you need to go to a gym and work out, that's possible. If you have a musical instrument, as long as it's small enough or it travels well, you can take that with you. Otherwise, it is also possible to rent instruments as well. So just about anything that you need to keep up with during the program, it's very possible to do that. And it certainly, you won't be the other student, you know, you won't be the only student, as I said before, who has an interest in doing that. So thank you, Gabrielle. That was a great question. Any other questions at this point?
Would doing the athletic stuff be during the free time only, or during other times as well?
Free time, evening time, weekends, you know, weeknights and weekends are saved for your family. that's family time. So absolutely. And we try, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit when we get to host families, but when we're matching students with host families, we're really looking at what you have in common as much as possible. So if you're someone who's really athletic, then we want you to be with a family that's active as well, you know, so that you can do those kinds of things with them. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. So we are also, as you probably know, we're an academic program. So students are taking classes during the summer. And what I'm showing you here are the course subjects. Now, these are not, these are oftentimes combined together. So for example, you might have a grammar and communication class, or you might have culture and literature combined together. It depends on the number of instructors and the number of students. But these are the course subjects that we cover. And the whole idea is that we want you to be able to step out at the end of your classes, you know, every day and apply what you learned. The classes are very interactive. They're very fun, they're project-based, they're conversation-based. The instructors are going to be teaching you, you know, how do we say this here? What's the local dialect? You know, what are some expressions that, you know, that the locals are using, and here's what they mean, and so forth. So they're going to be teaching you the language within the context, you know, within the region where you are. In the afternoon, you're engaging in what we very creatively call afternoon activities. And these can be, you know, sports, you know, soccer, working out, going on hikes, and so forth. It could be theater, music, dance, and so forth. So there's all different kinds of activities. I know you students are so talented. A lot of you already have talent in, you know, in these types of activities. But if you're more like me and you don't have any talent whatsoever in these activities, I want to let you know it's perfectly fine. You don't have to be good at any of this, okay? The whole idea is to have fun and to stretch outside your comfort zone. Ashton, I know in Hangzhou, you guys did some art classes, you did some sports. You want to talk to us a little bit about the different activities you guys did?
Sure. So we had teachers from the school that we attended teach us art, music, and then we had opportunities to practice sports like kind of by ourselves. And one of those we got to watch their basketball team play the guys in my group, and the guys in our group won, which was a big morale boost for my cohort. But we also got to do like Chinese painting. We learned an instrument called the hulusa, which is kind of like a flute type of thing. Yeah, and then the sports were, as I said before, on our own, so we kind of could go anywhere on their school campus. So I elected to do volleyball most of the time because I'm not great at basketball or badminton or things like that. But yeah, that was our afternoon activity selection.
Okay, wonderful. And they can vary from site to site as well. So also the students during these afternoon activities, they are rehearsing and they're practicing and they're putting together a farewell show, which is a way of, it's a show that the students present to the host families at the end of the program as a way to say thank you. And this farewell show really looks like whatever the students want it to. It's a variety show. So you might have a group of students who want to sing a traditional song in the target language. You might have another group of students who do a dance performance. They might do skits. We have students who wish to do solo performances. So if you've got a student who plays guitar, they might want to do, you know, their own act for the host families and so forth. So if you go to YouTube, we have our own YouTube channel. You just look for IUHPFL, and we have our own YouTube channel. You can see different videos and some coverage of these shows. And of course, they can be extremely funny and they're just a really good time, and the host families appreciate it greatly. So that's also some of the things that you're doing in the afternoon during your afternoon activities. And then we include in our academics the excursions that take place during the program because we make sure that the students know, in advance, here's where we're going, here's what you're going to see, here's why it's important. The culture instructor is going to be talking with you about that before you go. So I think the excursions are really meaningful for the students as well, because they get a really good insight as to where they're going and why they're going, what they're going to see before they go. Any questions about the classes, afternoon activities, anything like that? And by the way, I learned from the young lady who took this particular photo, she attends signature school. And I learned that what these birds are eating are potato chips. So I just love this photo. It's absolutely one of my favorites, but she said, yeah, they were feeding the birds potato chips that day. So our instructors. To be an instructor in our program, one must be an Indiana high school teacher of the language, or they have to be a graduate student, PhD candidate, or a non-tenured lecturer here at Indiana University. So these are professional world language educators. This is what they do. Some of them are, born here in the US, some are from other countries. In any event, their language skills are impeccable. They've lived abroad, they've studied abroad, they understand culture shock. They know very well what our students are going through because they've been there themselves. And they really love working with our students. They're all ages. They bring their own interests and hobbies and personalities into the program. Really one of my favorite aspects of this program is, working with these professionals who come from all over the state of Indiana, and it's just really wonderful. At least one on each team is CPR and first aid certified. We make sure that we cover that. The program covers that for them. The instructors travel to the host country with the students and they bring them back. So again, this is another layer of security. The instructors are not just, the students don't just see them in the classroom. They're not just their teachers. They are with them often, nearly every day, of course, on weekends. The students might not see their instructors, but there might be some kind of an activity where everybody gets together and does something on a weekend. The instructors are taking the students on their excursions and so forth. So they're just an integral part of this experience. Anything that you would want to say about your instructors during the program, Ashton, and some things that you learned from them?
Yeah, one of my teachers was the Chinese teacher at Zionsville, and then the other one was, I think he taught at like an elementary school in Bloomington. But they were both amazing. They were so cute. My teacher from Zionsville brought her daughter, who was the most adorable kid ever, and she was so fun to have around. And they made sure our classes were super fun because I felt like they kind of understood that a lot of students going in like didn't necessarily want to sit through like 5 hours of class every day, especially during the summer when you're in a foreign country and you want to like explore and things like that. So they made sure to weave like local culture and fun and trendy things into our lessons. And overall, I felt like they just did an amazing job. And I keep in touch with both of them, which is so nice to, keep the connection going. And yeah, love them.
That's great. So just to clarify something that you said, if you don't mind, Ashton, our students are not in class for 5 hours a day. So I think you were referring to like the high school experience, right? Like,
yeah, that was just an
school.
exaggeration.
Yeah.
I definitely
Yeah.
would. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I think, in most cases it comes out to maybe 4 hours, something like that. And like I said, you have lunch, you have afternoon activities, but yes. And also that particular instructor that you're mentioning, she took her daughter because she was from China and her daughter stayed with family during the experience. So that's another thing I want to clarify there. But yeah, they're just really wonderful people, and they give so much to our students. And of course, it's professional development for our instructors as well. So this program gives our instructors an opportunity to develop their own curriculum, their own lesson plans. They are creating their course materials for the courses that they teach. They get to try out teaching techniques and so forth that maybe they haven't tried yet. There's a lot of autonomy for our instructors, which I think is one reason why people really enjoy teaching for this program. Yeah, so any questions at all about our instructors? Okay. So the host family experience, as you can imagine, is just a huge highlight. It's a big part of our program. It's something that just about every student who participates in this program is going to want to go on and on about their host family, because it's really like having a family on the other side of the world. And that's what we want. We create for our students a true home away from home experience. And most of our alums will tell you that they have a family on the other side of the world. They have a community on the other side of the world. They know they can go back and they can visit their family, and they can find their way around that community, and they can find their way around their host country. And that's really what we want all students to come away with. Host families come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes it is a mom and a dad and kids. Sometimes it's an older couple who are retired and now their grandchildren are coming to visit. Sometimes it's a single parent, but in any event, they're very warm. They're very giving. They give to the students, so much. And we tell the families, if you want to participate in this program, that means that you're welcoming the student in as a member of your family. They're not just a visitor. They're not a tenant. They're actually supposed to be treated like a member of your family. And I think the families do a really good job of that. At each of our host cities around the world, we have individuals who live full-time, they are residents of those communities. They're called our on-site coordinators. And I work with the on-site coordinators to plan the calendar, plan the excursions, and so forth. And it is the responsibility of those on-site coordinators to vet the host families. They interview them, they do home visits and so forth, and they supervise the host families during the program as well. They take this responsibility and this part of their job very personally. They want to select the best families they possibly can. And no one is coming into this program through a public advertisement. We don't advertise. Everyone comes in through word of mouth. So families come in because they have a friend who's hosted for the family, or the program rather, or they have a family member who's hosted for the program. And that's how new families come in. As I mentioned earlier, with Saint-Brieuc, France, some of our host families have hosted for many years. And a family can have either 1 or 2 IUHPFL students at a time, depending on how much room they have in their home. So they have to be able to provide each student, of course, with their own bed, and preferably, if possible, their own private bedroom. So, we have to make sure that if a family is going to accommodate 2 students, that they actually have the space to be able to do that. What are some questions that you folks might have for Ashton or me about the host family experience? Yes, Gabrielle.
I was just wondering, one year, one of my students, before the IU program started, her host family had sent her some messages on Facebook with photos before the program started. And I don't know, I just wondered if that's something that kind of happens in case that family is really into, social media or something, or is there a little bit of communication with the host family sometimes before the program starts?
We encourage that, yes. So in May, thank you for that question. In May, the students find out who their host family is going to be. And of course, the host family finds out, they get their student information. And we do provide email addresses, and we encourage them to get in contact. And so that's fun. We hear a lot of, fun stories about that. And then there are, we also have to put in the disclaimer, some host families don't spend very much time on their computers. So if they don't get in touch with you before the program, please don't worry. Don't think anything of it. It doesn't mean they're not going to be a wonderful host family. They just might not enjoy being on the computer or be very computer savvy. But yeah, I would say the norm is that students usually do have some kind of contact with their host family prior to the program. We also say, say this again at orientation in April, if mom and dad here want to talk with the host family prior to the program, that's great. And after the program, if you want to become best friends with the host family, and that's wonderful too. During the program, we ask the parents here not have contact with the host parents, and just really let the student have their own experience with their host family. So Ashton, what would you like for us to know about your host family experience?
I guess going off of the question that Gabrielle just asked, personally for me, communication in between China and America, like using online platforms is difficult since Facebook and things like that weren't or aren't allowed to be used in China. So I went in with really only having the letter that my host family wrote me as my knowledge of them, but it ended up working out so well. I absolutely loved my host family. They were the best part of the program by far for me. My host sister and I were like besties. She goes to school in Ohio now, so I see her sometimes, which is super nice. And yeah, they truly did make the program for me. I had a host cousin who was over all the time, and she was essentially like my second mom. I loved them so much. I cannot say like any negative things about them. They were absolutely perfect.
Okay. Any questions about the host family experience from anyone? I'm sure that there are some really good questions out there.
Hi, I actually have a question. So if two students to the program are like from the same school district, would it be possible for them to like room together in the same host family?
Same school district. We try as much as possible to separate students who attend the same school and, you know, who know one another and so forth. The reason for that is because we want you to have that individualized experience. And especially if there's any chance that you're going to be tempted to speak English with that person, right? So if it's somebody you already know, chances are really good that you're going to be tempted to speak English. Thank you for that question. It's a really good one. But yes, we do try to separate students who, you know, likely know one another, attend the same school and so forth. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Again, you know, some things we some things we do that might, you know, might seem like we're being meanies, but there is a reason for it. You know, it really is because we want you to have the best results possible, you know. So yeah, more questions. What other questions might you guys have? Any parents have some questions at this point? Okay, all right. So community engagement. This is another component of our programs. And I'm happy to say now that all of our program sites have some kind of community engagement experience. And what these are, they can take all different kinds of forms. But these are opportunities for the students to get out into the community as a group. You know, they do these experiences as a group. And they meet local residents. So it might be doing some kind of a project with, you know, students their age. It might be visiting a senior citizen center. It might be going into a school or going to visit an animal rescue center. Again, it's not necessarily volunteerism. Sometimes it can be volunteerism. Other times it might just be an opportunity to see a performance or meet a group of students and have conversations with them and so forth. So they're really neat projects. And they've become a very meaningful part of the IUHPFL experience for our participants. We want, again, our students, we have someone in the waiting room, again, Ashton. You know, we want our students to really feel like they have a home away from home and to be able to, you know, feel and imagine what would it be like if I lived in this community? What are some things going on in this community right now? You know, so these have just been incredibly fun and successful. So what do participants gain? Of course, Ashton, you know, I'm going to ask you to share your insights on this question. It's hard to put into words everything that our students take away from an experience like this. And like Gabrielle was saying at the beginning of this presentation, it is absolutely life-changing. You do not come back the same person after you've had an experience like this. Obviously, we want you to have these huge strides in your language proficiency. Also, students come away saying that they have a better idea of what they want to study, what they want to do in their careers, a lot more clarity about the direction they might be going in the future. As we all know, your target language, no matter what it might be, it combines beautifully with anything else you want to study. If you want to go into medicine, you want to go into law, you want to go into business, you want to go into education, whatever field you're interested in, your language ability is only going to enhance that and only going to make you more marketable. Students talk about greater self-confidence, maturity, independence, and of course, your lifelong friendships that you have the potential to make. I get the question a lot, are we a direct college credit program? The answer to that is no. Students do not get college credit for participating in this program. However, if you're going to take the AP exam in your language, you will, of course, score higher than after participating in this program. That, of course, can translate into direct college credit for you. And we know from the students who come to Indiana University, and again, any campus of IU, but we know from our alums who come to IU that they're likely to test into at least the 5th semester of the language at IU. So they're able to skip over those, preliminary semesters in the language. They save themselves a lot of time and a lot of money. I hear over and over again, students saying something, by the time they got to IU, I was only 2, courses away from having a minor in my language. I hear those kinds of things all the time. So if you see yourself using your language in the future, this program is definitely an investment. It will save you time and it will save you money, for sure. Ashton, what would you say you gained from the program?
Sure. I personally, I was looking at the bullet points and they all were applicable to me post-program. When I took the AP Chinese test, I got a 5, which is like the best score you can get, which was super exciting. And I didn't think I could have done that if I hadn't have had the experience that I did in high school. In terms of academic and career goals, I'm a business school student, so Chinese fits really well with that given China's position in global business. So that was definitely enlightening as well. In terms of self-confidence and independence, I had pretty bad self-confidence going into the program. I mean, I was like 16 years old, so who doesn't? But I came back, and having that experience by myself in a different country with essentially no contact to like my parents and my friends at home was a big boost in just the knowledge that I can do this. And whenever I was faced with something that seemed super hard, like at school or applying to colleges and things like that, it's like, oh, I can do this. I've literally been to China and like had to operate by myself. Same with cultural competency and lifelong friendships. Some of my best friends today are people who I went to China with. One of my friends just came down and visited me in Bloomington the other day. And I'm going to hang out with her this weekend when I go back to Indianapolis. And she's one of my best friends. So yeah, definitely. I think all of these are super relevant. And if you elect to go, will definitely be in your future.
Thank you for that. It was really excellent. It was wonderful. I want to say too, just kind of playing off of something Ashton just shared about the friendships. When I see alums coming together and they, for example, I've been traveling around, this is the time of year when I travel around state and I give presentations, and we do these things called regional presentations, which I'm sure you folks probably know. I've done one in Evansville this year, Indianapolis, Bloomington, South Bend, so go, and I do a presentation at the same time, 6:30 to 8 p.m. And alums from past programs will come and present with me like Ashton is now, and they share their stories. Well, oftentimes these students don't know one another. They didn't participate in the same program, or maybe they didn't even go on the program in the same year. And what's so amazing is that they sit beside one another during this presentation that we're all giving, and you would think that they've known each other for years. It's just going through an experience like this is it's such a bonding, it just gives you this opportunity to meet people who you have a lot in common with, and you share a lot of the same interests. And so I'm always just pleased to see, how immediately people who've been through our program connect with one another and start talking with one another. Have you had any of experiences like that, Ashton? Because you've met other students here on campus too who've done the program as well, right?
Yeah, I actually came down to Bloomington my junior year of high school, I think, to do a presentation with you as well.
You did.
And yeah, I didn't even go to the same language site as the people who I sat by, and we all had similar kind of experiences and bonded over that, which was super nice. And in terms of on campus, I see people wearing IUHPFL shirts all the time. And I'm like, hey, I went to Hangzhou in 2017. Where'd you go? Like, and it's kind of just a bond that you have with people. And yeah.
Because it's a very, very unique experience. Thank you for that. So eligibility, let's talk about that a little bit. Obviously, like I said earlier, you attend a high school in the state of Indiana. You're a sophomore, junior, or senior at the time that you apply. You have to have completed at least 3 academic years in the language for French, German, and Spanish by the time you board the plane. So that means right now, if you're applying for next summer, you're at level 3 or higher. Okay. We're looking for students who really show, they demonstrate in their applications that they're excited about an opportunity like this. You know, of course it's going to be challenging. Of course, you know, everybody's nervous, and that's a normal, healthy way to be, because it is a very challenging experience. It's certainly not a vacation. This is a growth experience, I would call it. So it's just really, really challenging. Oh, sorry, let me go back. But we want to see, you know, that you're excited about doing something like this, and that this is really your idea. It's important that we see that it's the student who wants to do this experience, you know, that they're not being, you know, encouraged too much by, you know, mom or dad or a teacher or so forth. But we really want to see that this is the student's desire to do a program like this. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking for strong overall academic performance, and we want to see excellence in your world language classes. So let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's talk about the cost of the program. So this past summer, our program fees were $5,600. We do raise them every year. And of course, as we can imagine now, keeping up with the cost of inflation, cost of running the program, everything abroad, food, transportation, everything abroad has gone up in cost as well. But we work really hard to keep our costs as low as we possibly can for Indiana families. As I mentioned earlier, we're not the only high school study abroad opportunity out there. I do encourage you to do research, like I said, and you will often see, you know, your program fees and your airfare are always separate. They're always broken apart. You will see program fees for a 6-week program, oftentimes around $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. So please know we are working really hard to keep our costs as low as we possibly can, because we want this experience to be attainable for Indiana students. Group flights, I'm working to get those, you know, scheduled right now. The cost of those, of course, you know, vary, generally anywhere between $1,200 and $1,700, depending on where you're going. And I have no idea what we're looking at for this next year, but we are working to get those scheduled right now. Spending money varies greatly from student to student. So whereas you might have one student who says, all I really want is just to be able to, you know, get my pastries and my ice cream, and that's really all I need. You might have another student who says, you know, I want to go shopping. I want to, you know, I want to do some things. So the spending money is really between, you know, the students and their parents. And it is very, very different, you know, from student to student and just what they want to spend. It's really so much easier today than it was when parents, you know, I'm sure you all remember traveler's checks. And how crazy, yeah, Gabrielle's like, girl, you know, that was crazy. Traveler's checks, students, in case your parents haven't told you, you had to have all of your money saved beforehand. Wherever you were going to go internationally, you had to have all the money up front. And then you went to an office, you converted those to traveler's checks, and you took these many pieces of paper with you that, you know, these checks that were worth the money that, you know, they were worth that denomination. So if you lost the traveler's checks, holy moly, what a mess. You had to go to an office in your, you know, host country. You had to report the loss and so on and so forth. So it was much more complicated back then. Today, what most parents do is they set up a bank account with their student. The parent's name is on the bank account. The student's name is on the bank account, and students, you take with you a debit card. And then the parents can also put money in gradually. It's really nice because if you want your student to have this much spending money every week, well, you just make that deposit every week. So it's so much easier today. We also recommend that students take a credit card with them, which they can, use for medical expenses or emergencies or something like that that might come up. So how do students bring together money like this? Well, that's one of the reasons why we offer the program to sophomores, juniors, and seniors. There are multiple opportunities to participate in this program, so you get a chance to save up for it and work toward it. A lot of students save their money. They work part-time jobs. They go to family members and ask, hey, this year for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it might be, my birthday, I'd really just like to have money toward this experience. They do online fundraising. Sometimes schools do fundraising events. There's all different kinds of ways of bringing the money together for this experience. So what questions might you have right now about eligibility or the costs of the program?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. In my experience of the students applying, a lot of times the students keep asking me, how am I going to pay? Is there financial aid? And I just always tell them to apply, because over time I found out that if a student applies and then they get accepted, once that happens, then they're in such a good position to look for sponsors. For example, go to some businesses in their local community or have a crowdfund, because at that point they show they're a go-getter, they're somebody that has applied for something, have been accepted, and people want to really support a young person who's making a positive step toward their future. So even the students that are really unsure and they're not sure if they can raise the money, but it just seems like between the GoFundMe page, put one online, that looking for those sources, that eventually it's possible to find the support. And the really key thing is to try to just apply, fill out your application, and then once you get accepted, of course, you can always save up money, but another factor is just the fact of a student getting accepted is really convincing and really impressive to potential sponsors.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you, Gabrielle. The students receive an acceptance letter, and and that's what Gabrielle is referring to, is that you have a letter here showing that you've been accepted into the program, and then you are able to more easily accept sponsorships. Students will, oftentimes turn to, people in their faith communities, or they'll go to a service organization like Rotary or Kiwanis, Lions Club, that type of thing, going to local businesses, as Gabrielle mentioned. So there really are a lot of options. If you want to raise the money for this program, I promise you can do it. And there's been more than one student that's participated in the program. During my 8 years with the program so far, there's been more than one student who's paid for the experience themselves completely. So, it's possible to do. And as Gabrielle is saying, you'd be really surprised about the amount of support that you will get for an experience like this. So thank you. That was really great. So what are the next steps? Well, registration is going on now. Some of you probably already registered. Some of you, might be waiting to, have this presentation before registering. If you're interested for next summer, I really urge you to apply, to register and apply as soon as possible. So you'll go to our website, IUHPFL.indiana.edu, and you can register there online. It's a very brief form that you fill out. It's very easy to complete. And what we're looking for with the registration form is just simply verifying that you are in fact eligible. You're in the state of Indiana, you're at the appropriate grade level, and you're at the appropriate level in the language. That's what we're looking for. Once we verify that you're eligible, then we send you an email with the link that you need to get started on the application. And the application is not difficult, but I will tell you it is extensive and it takes time. It's more extensive than applying to college. And so I want to talk with you a little bit about the various components of the application dossier. It's due on Sunday, December 4th. And your world language teacher is going to have to be involved in this process. So Another reason, if you want to do this, please get started right away and make sure that you tell your world language teacher right away that you want to do this experience, because the last thing you want to do is go to them, a few days before Thanksgiving and say, oh, hey, by the way, can you do these things for me? Okay, because that might make them really sad. You need to tell them now so that they have time to help you. So the first component is your personal application form. So students, this is just a whole bunch of questions that we're asking you. And sometimes we're looking for a little bit of a shorter answer. Sometimes we're looking for a longer answer. But all of these questions are designed to really make you think about this experience. We want to get to know you, and we want to make sure that this is something that you're really ready for. So please give us very thoughtful answers to our questions. Also, there's a writing sample in the target language that your world language teacher has to administer for you. It takes about, sorry, there's sirens outside my window here. It takes about 45 minutes of your teacher's time. So again, this is something that you want to talk to them right away so they can be prepared. There are appraisals that adults in your life have to fill out for you. These are online forms. So your world language teacher is going to fill out an appraisal for you. Another teacher in your school as well. It could be a math, science teacher, whomever. And then there's a non-academic, non-relative appraisal. So this is somebody like an employer, a mentor, a coach, your band director could be this person. It's not a teacher in a traditional academic setting, but it is an adult that you're not related to who knows you and can talk about your readiness for this experience. Parents, you also are asked to fill out the parental assessment at this stage, and we love the insights that we gain from you because you know your students so well. You know their strengths and you know where they're going to struggle and where they're going to need support. And so your input at this point is incredibly valuable and helpful to us as we're making sure that we can provide the very best opportunity and support and experience for your student. And then of course the high school transcript. So as you can see, none of this is difficult. It just takes time to put together. Okay. The third week of January is when we're announcing acceptance status. And I want to tell you this, students, as long as we see that you are ready academically and personally for an experience like this, we want you to participate. So please feel encouraged. Please be encouraged. But again, we have to see that you're really ready for this experience, okay? In February, I get the pleasure of interviewing some of the students, and Gabrielle probably knows that I wish we could interview every single student because it is so much fun. It is wonderful getting to meet you students and, talk with you more. You get to see, meet us, you get to know us a little bit. But we don't, unfortunately, get to interview all of the students because we just don't have the time or the people power to do that. So why do we interview? Well, during the application process, we encourage you to disclose anything that you might be concerned about while you're abroad. I've had students tell me, for example, one student said, I am absolutely terrified of flying. I've never been on a plane before and I'm terrified. Guess what? Thank you for sharing that with us. Let's sit down and talk about this. So that was, a student that we interviewed. A student might say, if I eat a peanut, I will be in the hospital. Okay, let's sit down and talk about that. So, severe food allergies, medical conditions, students, disclose anxiety, depression, all kinds of challenges. And we all get that, right? I mean, we're living in a challenging world. So please do not hesitate to share with us anything that we need to know so that we can support you during the program. Okay. We need to know these things in advance so we can make sure you have the best possible experience. And when you share those things with us, it's likely then that we're going to ask to interview you and sit down and just have a conversation with you in February. This date right here, Sunday, April 16th, please, 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 please mark this now on your calendars if you're interested for next summer, because this is our mandatory student guardian orientation. It takes place here in Bloomington, Bloomington on the IU campus. We're together all day from early morning until, late afternoon. Usually, I think it's at 4 or 4:30 is when we end in the afternoon. And it's all day. You get to meet your peers who are going to the same program site with you. You get to meet your instructors. Parents, you get to meet the instructors. Every nitty gritty detail. You learn about the calendar, the excursions, the classes, the city, how to get around in the city, the currency, everything. So it's just an enormously valuable and important day. And students, it's also one of the only opportunities you'll have to meet your program peers in English, right? Because from the time when you land in the host country, from then on, it's all your target language. So it's just a great day. It's really fun. Ashton, what do you remember about orientation?
I remember being so excited. The night before was kind of like the first day before school. I didn't really sleep that well because I was super excited to go. My group organized a dinner before orientation, I think, because we were all in a Facebook group together. And so I got to meet all of them, but I was super excited to come back and learn more. And I was just so ready to go already in April. I was like, can it be June already? But yeah, it was super fun. Lots of important information, but at the same time, very fun, very great day.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, it's so important and it's so key to a student's experience with the program that we consider orientation to be the first official day of the program, because there's just so much that is learned and gained through this experience. So again, this is our website. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get back, but why not? I'm feeling brave. Okay, so this is our website. I think you guys have, probably spent some time on this already. I encourage you, especially the IUHPFL experience, all kinds. There's program site blogs from past years that you can check out. The alumni video project, where people who've gone through the program, way back even into the 1960s, share their experiences with you and talk to you about how the program has affected their lives. Photo and video contests. There's videos here that you can watch and photos that you can see. So there's just so much here that you can gain from the visiting our website. And then this is where you would go to register for the program and so forth under how to apply. So again, I'm assuming quite a bit of you have already spent time here, but just to help you out in case you haven't had a chance to do that yet. Please, students, and Gabrielle, this is for you and any other high school teacher who might be with us right now this evening. You guys have no idea how much the teachers mean to this program. If it were not for the many, many high school teachers around the state who we work with, we literally would not exist. Because this is how high school teachers all over the state of Indiana learn about IUHPFL. It's through their high school world language teachers. So please go back to your schools tomorrow and tell your teachers how much you appreciate them for everything they do for you, but also for letting you know about this program, because they're just absolutely invaluable to the experience. Okay, more questions that you might have. Yes, Gabrielle.
I have a question. Do the kids, when they fill out their application, do they have to have a active passport and submit? On the application, it asks them to submit a picture of the passport or the number?
Not at this stage. The passport, there's a deadline for the passport when we need that information, and that's part of the acceptance materials. We tell students at this stage, definitely, make sure that you're working on your passport and be going in that direction, because right now it's taking a very long time to get a passport. So we encourage people, start working on it now, because a passport is something you just generally need in your life anyways, and they last for 10 years. Although at your age, it's probably more like 5, I think, if you're a minor, right? But it's still a really valuable thing to have. But yeah, it's part of our acceptance materials. And I think it's either a February deadline or a March deadline when we need to make sure that the students actually have their passports. We start asking for it then. Some students just aren't able to get them to us until April, or, but we start talking about it now. Did that help?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. And then this is not a question, but just to the students applying, just really allow yourself some time because the application is long and it has a lot of questions. And sometimes the kids don't know some of the questions, like their teacher's phone number, or I don't know if they still have this question, but I think they used to ask what, like your parents' job. I don't know. They just ask a lot of different things. And then the kid, and then the teachers, we can't see the application because we're not in on that. We're not in on that part. So the kids, yeah, it's a long application. It's good to allow yourself time.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? There's quite a few folks that we haven't heard from yet.
I do have a question. Is there any like financial aid through the program that we can apply for as well, or is it all outside the program?
Yes, yes, there is. So we have, and this is just really exciting. Lillian, thank you for this question. It's a great one. Again, you know, people who've gone through our programs in past decades, who, you know, they're now becoming donors. And last year alone, for example, in 2021, we raised over $29,000, you know, from past participants of the program. So the year before that, it was something similar to that as well. So yes, we do have scholarship funds that are available. I will tell you, any award that comes directly from our office, from these funds that I'm describing, generally between $500 and $1,500. So, you know, they're not huge. You know, we don't have awards that cover the entire, you know, program, but they make a big difference and they can really, really help you. Yeah. So after acceptance, then there's a window, you know, we send out an email and we say, okay, you know, congratulations, you've been accepted, so on and so forth. If you're interested in applying for financial assistance, then here's what you do. And there's a form that you complete and so forth. Your parents will complete the FAFSA, which is the free FAFSA. Anyways, I can never remember.
Family, like the financial aid, family.
Yeah. Student aid, the free application for financial student aid or something like that. Anyways, you know, it involves tax forms. You know, your parents are filling in their, you know, their tax information from the prior year and so forth, and things like that. And so then what you get is you get a code. It's an EFC code, and that I know means estimated family contribution. It's an EFC code. And all we ask for and all we need is that code. We don't want any, you know, we don't need to see any numbers from your family. We just need that one code there. There's the only numbers we want to see. And then you can also fill out a form where you can give some explanation. You know, you can explain why the assistance would be so helpful to you. So once we get that, then we, you know, our committee gets together and we determine the awards that go to each student. So if we see that a family has a really high EFC, you know, and they don't really need the aid, then we might say no. You know, I mean, obviously if they don't need the aid, we're going to say no, but you know, in most cases we're able to help students. Yeah. Did that help?
Okay. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Other questions?
I might have missed this, but did you mention approximately how many students are in each of these groups?
I did not mention that, and that's a great question. Thank you. At any given program site, we have a capacity. We have a maximum capacity of 30 to 35 students. It could be as few as 15. It could be as many as 35. Or anywhere in between. So this past summer, you know, our programs were 23, 24, 25, 28 students and so forth. So, and then we work to keep a ratio of 7 to 9 students per instructor. So if we have 30 students at a program site, we're going to have 4 instructors. If we have 21 students at a program site, we're going to have 3 instructors and so forth. We'll always have a minimum of 2 instructors.
And then as a follow-up to that, so they're with the other students for academic classes. And then what about the afternoon activities? Again, is it that same group, or are they ever interacting with students from the host country?
Yeah, they're doing their classes and their afternoon activities. Everything is customized to our students. So our students are doing all of these things together. But like I said, the community engagement activities can oftentimes have them interacting with the local youth. And then of course, within the host families, there are many students their own age. So there are a lot of opportunities to interact with, kids of all ages within the host country. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Great questions, you guys. Anything else? Okay, all right. Well, listen, if you have any other questions, guys, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our email address is iuhpfl@iu.edu. I'll put that in the chat. You guys probably already know that, but IUHPFL@iu.edu. So please don't hesitate to, just reach out to us and ask us more questions. We would really, love to keep working with you and hope that you all register and apply, and would be really excited to meet you. So, all right. Thank you so much, Ashton. You did a wonderful job. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you, Gabrielle, for your wonderful input, and to the rest of you for your great questions. I really enjoyed talking with you tonight. All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Ashton. That was great.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. And so I will see you tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I'll be there at 8 a.m.
Yep. And we have our t-shirts on. Remember your t-shirt?
Oh yes, mine is at home, so I'm all ready to go.
You're all ready to go? Okay, good. Yeah. Now, are you gonna be there tomorrow and Saturday? Are you able to come both days? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm bringing my blue t-shirt and I'm bringing my green one. I'm bringing both.
Okay. I will when I have at home. I don't know which one I've got.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun. It's a fun day. So I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll see you tomorrow then.
Take care, hon. Thank you so much for
Bye.
being here. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.